Welcome to Clever Conversations. This is a chance for us to meet indie artists, authors, creators of all kinds, and we hope you enjoy this ride with us. Let's get into the show. Hey, everybody, welcome to Clever Conversations. I am so glad you are joining us today. I am here with Dr. Joan Ford, all the way from New Zealand. Hey, how are you, Ellen?
I'm good, thanks, Bree. I'm excited about this.
I am so excited to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about, because there's been we've been through a journey recently together, but you started a journey a long time ago with some pretty heroic, and I told you on the last episode that I had, when I had everybody in the room, that I always see you in a cape in my mind. You always have this like hero cape on because you do, but you do hero things, and you're shifting that from, rescuing people, like saving lives, to saving parents. And so tell us a little bit about like where we were when we were saving lives, because that's a really incredible story. Let's start with that.
Okay, so really briefly, basically, I spent the first 10 years of my career in the army. Was so lucky to lead soldiers on operations around the world, including Afghanistan. And when I served there, 2010-11, I had a team. I had Kiwi soldiers, Kiwi New Zealand soldiers, and I also had locals. And basically, fast forward 10 years from that, 3 years ago, so the Taliban took over in Afghanistan. One of my biggest concerns was what was going to happen to the people who had been in my team. They were in a lot of danger because of the fact that they'd worked for a foreign government. And one of those team members reached out asking me to help. And Bree, that just snowballed into the most kind of monumental, overwhelming task I've ever been involved in.
Well, that'll happen. Well, that's what happens when you put a mom in charge, or you put someone in charge of doing, you know what I mean? Like, well, we put a lady in charge. Let's just be honest. You put a woman in charge, things get done.
Well, it was one of those things I remember really distinctly. So I was on parental leave second time round. So I had Monty, I was breastfeeding my baby. I had a 3-year-old, Toby, my eldest. I had just literally that month, Bree, decided I want to change the world with the stuff that we're going to talk about with work school hours. And it all happened that same month. I just decided to quit my job, start my own business. I was so passionate about this stuff. And then one of my team members reached out being like, can you please help me? And I was like, I have no idea how to do that. I'm not in the army anymore. I'm a nobody. I'm a breastfeeding mom. I've got a business that I've just decided to start. And you know what? You're right. Yeah, busy people get stuff done.
We do. No, it's the truth, right? You got to get things done, and you can say, okay, so we were talking before this. I was telling her that I don't put a lot of, this is terrible to say out loud, I don't put a lot of thought into like starting a podcast and doing something like that. I just do it, right? We see what needs to be done and we just do it. And I think that's how change is made. It's by the doers. It's the people that are actually like, they don't even think, oh, what if this happens, or if that doesn't work, or if I can't do this. We're just like, I have to get this done, and I'm just going to find a way to do it. There is a way to do it. I'm going to find that way, and I'm going to make it happen.
Actually, Bree, that's so true. Like when I got involved in this task, it wasn't even like there is a way to do it and I just haven't learned that way yet. It was the entire world was making this up as they go. US was doing it as well, getting people out of Afghanistan. This wasn't something that we've got a rule book for how to do. And so we were just figuring it out, and I didn't know how to do it. Didn't even really know how it was going to end. I had, not necessarily the highest hopes of how this was going to turn out, but it was just, well, I can't walk away from this. So I'm just going to have to stick around until it's done.
And you did. And you got it done.
And actually, and sorry, to be fair, Brie, I'm always really clear on this. Like, it wasn't just me. I was part of a volunteer team. We had other people supporting us. It certainly wasn't just the Ellen show. But I very much found myself at the heart of this massive volunteer task.
Yeah, well, you got it done and you rescued 563, is that right?
Yeah, yep, 500.
563 people. Monumental, huge. Like that's three villages at least. That's so many people, and you gave them so much hope and so much possibility that they would never have had, and got them out of something that is a horrifying situation. And that's compassion. And someone didn't silence their phone, the host. And but I mean, it's incredible, incredible. Tell me before we move on, because that's congratulations. And I don't know if that's even the right word for that. It's just like my heart swells with joy and happiness because of what you did, and knowing how much you affected so many lives. So congratulations doesn't even sound like the right thing to say. Like thank you, but from everything that I have. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Brie. It was a little bit surreal in some ways. We actually we had, when they all got here, so we had basically we got visas for 563 people, and then in my mind I was like, right, once all those people are in New Zealand, that's the bit done. And it was almost a year of life. It took a lot. I lost a lot of weight. It was freaking stressful. It was emotional. It was hard. But we had, when all the families got here, they wanted to thank us. So myself and my team, and they had this like a reunion event. And what was kind of cool, Brie, is most of the people were actually kids. So out of those 563, I can't remember the exact numbers, but if you think about, most of them were families with a mum and a dad, and they typically had sort of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 children, like big families. And so most of the people at this reunion were actually children. And it was overwhelming, honestly. Like I was sobbing throughout most of the reunion, actually. These yeah, especially the little girls, because they can't go to school in Afghanistan under Taliban rule. And so it was just pretty amazing. Yeah, just seeing all these kids, and I brought my children along as well. And yeah, it was overwhelming.
Yeah, overwhelming, but the determination. I don't think failure was an option, and you just kept like you had to keep going, and even like you said, lost a lot of weight. You had a whole year of your life. I mean, there's a lot that went through what you had to go through to get it all done. But I think there's something about, and I'm not going to bash on the men for this, but we do never say quit kind of thing comes, I think, a lot from a mom perspective. I'm a mom. I've got 4 kids. I like failure was not an option. Like you're going to fall, but you're never going to fail. You fall, you get up, right? But you're never going to fail. You just have to keep going and doing your best and keep trying to make things through. And the gift that you gave, especially these young girls, by now they are allowed to go to school and to learn and to become the people they were always meant to be. That is a truly remarkable gift. I know. See, I still see you with that cape. You don't see it? I bet you everyone in the audience watching sees the cape, because it's remarkable. It really, truly is.
Oh, thank you, Brie. And I don't know. I'm just like I'm just me. But what I should say as well is my team, actually, they were all guys. So I actually want to be fair to them. Like they were absolutely part of this. But we all brought different things to the table, the team. So I was the only woman in the team, and there were 3 guys, and we all brought different things. But I think one of the things that I did bring was that kind of being a mum was a factor. Like a big part of the role was putting together like just getting the documentation for travel. It was a lot of tedious paperwork, actually. And with that, you've got their ID cards of photos. And so I was looking, I spent hours of my day looking at photos of little children, putting this together. And I was like, I've got little children. And so that was one of the heartstrings that was pulling for me. And so I think that was in some ways, like, yeah, I'm a mum, but you know what? That probably was quite helpful for these families because it meant I really cared. And yeah.
Yeah, and you did have a great team, and I don't want to discount the things that they did at all. I think you can be a driving force. I think there is that never say quit kind of attitude that you possess that pushes you forward and pushes you forward into what you are doing now. And I do want to kind of move into that because it just shows your passion, your determination, and your focus on really helping others. And I since the moment I met you, that's what I think about you is you have this passion within you that's a mission for you to make the world, to leave the world better, but to do that effectively in what matters to so many of us. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about, before we talk about your solutions on things, I wanted to get into how many parents, whether it's, a normal family with the normal things that we go through, we struggle and all this stuff, to single moms, single dads, there's all these different dynamics. Family dynamics have changed, right? It's not just the typical mom and dad anymore. There are so many different family can mean so many different things. But one of the things that I think is really constant through that is the pressure that we feel to be everything, right? We have to do everything. So I know as a mom, and I actually moved away from teaching because I wanted to focus on my kids more and to be able to go to all of their things and do all of the things. And I couldn't make that balance. I couldn't do those things with, working all day and being a mom all the time. Right. And so I really struggled with it. And I think so many people struggle with, how do I do everything? And I'm always going to have to be I'm always going to be losing something. So let's talk a little bit about, like, how is this stigma, how is this thing that we have to do everything affected us, and why are we still holding on to that?
Oh, wow. So,
It's a lot.
I mean, big question, Brie, and it's a question I'm passionate about. That's why I'm doing this. So, basically, we genuinely, Brie, we live in a world where we are expected to work as if we don't have kids and parent as if we don't have a job. That's the world we live in, and I don't accept it. And the reason we're in this situation, Brie, is because basically the kind of the construct of work, the 40-hour week, the 9 to 5, that came into play more than a century ago. Like, it's not modern. It's, Henry Ford's car manufacturing era. That was kind of when it really was cemented. And it was fabulous social progress in that time. So, actually genuinely well done, Henry Ford, for bringing that in. But what's happened is that was in a time where there was the assumption that every household has a dedicated worker, a man, a dedicated caregiver of children, a parent. So they were two different tasks done by two different people. But that has, that does not reflect our society today at all. Women have been in the workforce for decades now. And it was kind of like women were allowed to join the workforce as long as they still got everything done at home. And we've just, entered the workforce, but no one has picked up the stuff at home. And it blows my mind, Brie, that we have not changed that construct of work. Like, we've made, I was saying this recently, we have made phenomenal progress over the last century. We think about things like the internet's been invented. I think we've been to the moon. Like, there's some pretty big progress that's happened, yet we have not changed the construct of work. It's remained the same. And so my big crusade is to change the construct, not to change people, but to change the construct. I
think we have to. I think we have to. And I think it not only comes into play because we are stressed and we're, and a lot of people are even working 2 jobs. I mean, just to support their family. It's not an easy task. And then we wonder why the kids are playing video games all day or doing all these things. And, even back when I was raising my kids, they're all grown now, but when I was raising my children, I know there was times when their dad couldn't make it to things that they were doing. And so, there's a lot of, we don't have the time that we want to spend with our kids, and it's so fleeting. I was just talking to a friend of mine not 30 minutes ago, and she said, "Oh yeah, she's 16 already." I'm like, 16? Like, when? She was 4. Like, when did that happen? Like, it's weird that they're getting older and we stay the same age. That's a cool fact. But you know, but they just, like, they're growing so fast in these times, these days, these things that we want to put our heart and soul, these are our family, our children, that we don't have the ability to spend time with them as we want to, because we are pulled so hard into the work responsibilities and the expectations that are levied upon us. Like, you have to be there. Not only do you have to be there, but you have to work late a lot of times, right? There was this whole thing a while ago about what did they call it? Something silent quitting or something like that. And it was when people just showed up and did their actual job and didn't give them anything extra. I was like, wait, you mean all they did was what they were hired to do, just their job, nothing more? That's silent quitting? That's all they should be doing at the most, right? Like, the extra, but you're so expected by so much. So I wanted to ask you this and I want to move into, like, some of the solutions. I want to get to solutions. But not only is this affecting how we parent and how we raise our children, but I think a lot of times it prevents us from making the decision to become a parent.
Mm-hmm. It's at a macro level. I believe that addressing this challenge that's facing parents who want to work, and sometimes they need to because of money, but actually a lot of times they want to. It's part of their identity. It's what they want for their own satisfaction, and they want to have kids, right? And we live in this world where you're challenged to do both. Well, sorry, it's a challenge to do both. Addressing this issue is one of the big crises, or one of the big things for our planet, I believe. So what you just said then about people, potentially not having kids or delaying it, there are some countries, Japan, for example, where they're going backwards in terms of population because people are genuinely not breeding. And one of the reasons they are not breeding as much is because it's so freaking difficult to be in the workforce and earn an income and also be a parent. And this may seem like, oh, well, that doesn't really matter, less people might be good in some ways. But actually what it means is that if we don't replace with young people coming through, very soon in Japan, there will be like workers who are quite literally supporting 2 elderly people for every 1 worker. So we've got an aging population. We need young people coming through. And so this is, I honestly see this as one of the big crises of our day, is how do we address this challenge where it's so difficult to be a parent and a worker?
Yeah, 100%. And why should we be making that choice? Why should it be, I can have a career or I can have a family? Why is there an or in there, right? Like, that's the part that always blows my mind. And I had to make that. I mean, I was working and had kids, but then I hit a point where I couldn't do everything and I had to choose. I had to choose, what do I want to do? Luckily, a few years into that, I became an entrepreneur and started my own business and, got my kids involved in it so that they're learning tasks and learning things and learning how to make soap and learning how to, make lotion and how to sell it at a market and how to properly label it and what goes into that. So I'm trying to teach them some skills here along with, this business that I want to run, but that doesn't happen to everybody. And it wasn't a huge money maker. It wouldn't have supported the family. I was lucky that I had other sources of income, but why are we choosing and not fixing it's like we're just band-aiding almost things, right? Instead of like fixing what the expectations are in the first place. And now the other thing I want to get into really quickly, because I don't have a lot of time, but is we look at where our strongest, like where our businesses are that are thriving.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize it's really super expensive to have to replace people all the time, to hire new people. Hiring is expensive, training them is expensive, all of these different things, right? And then we're also, we go through people quickly, so we're not as profitable as a business. So what is holding back, do you think, holding back the corporate echelon, the decision makers, from realizing that a happy worker that's supported and gets what they need is a better worker and actually produces more in less time? How do we, what is the thing that we need to fix for that?
So the what's holding them back, Brie, I think sometimes it's fear of the unknown or fear of doing things differently. And I mean, I hope there'll be a point where my work isn't needed anymore. Like I'd love it to be that I don't need to be pushing this movement anymore because it's people have bought onto it. But what I get excited about, Brie, is that this is a movement that is an easy sell. It's a commercially smart business proposition, as you just said. Like I don't feel like I'm pushing crap uphill. This is a make things more flexible for workers, all workers. Actually value that they have things they care about outside of work, treat them well so that they're happy. They will make you more money. Like it really is. And as you just said, the cost of attrition or the cost of recruiting new people, it's got a dollar figure attached to that, and it's not cheap. So when businesses start realizing that, oh, this is actually a sensible business idea, this is commercially smart, it kind of becomes a no-brainer. And what is cool, so this, the doom is that not enough businesses are doing it yet. But what I get excited about, Brie, is more and more businesses are starting to. They're seeing the light. And that gets me excited because there'll be a point when the businesses who haven't changed won't be able to get people. Yeah. So, it's going to happen. I believe this will be the way of the future.
100%. So tell us about work, school. Like, tell us about what all of this means. Like, what is it about? Like, I know we have belonging, autonomy, and purpose, but I want to get into the nitty gritty of what it's all about so that like people understand what it is that you're talking about.
Awesome. So I guess just very quickly, the overarching. So what I do is leadership, and it's all about, and I think you can see it in the back of my Zoom thing, actually, belonging, autonomy, purpose. That's my leadership model. And so I believe that leaders create environments where their people thrive, where they have a sense of belonging, they have autonomy, and they have purpose, and then direct that thriving energy at what needs to be achieved. That's leadership. And so that's kind of my background, my passion is how do we create great leadership environments, because that's when people do their best work. What I realized with some postdoctoral research is that parents were not always experiencing belonging, autonomy, and purpose. And that was the motivator for me to start the hashtag Work School Hours movement. So that was kind of the where it fits in. So what is it, and also what isn't it? So I would say hashtag Work School Hours, it is not as dogmatic as it might sound. So it's not saying the entire world must only work 9 till 3. That's school hours in New Zealand. I think the US is probably similar-ish.
Pretty similar, yeah.
It's not saying that. There's always someone, Brie, who can't wait to tell me, oh, we don't want hospitals to close in the afternoon. I'm like, I know that. I'm not an idiot. It's about a set of principles. So hashtag Work School Hours, it's 3 principles. The first is we need to do more to value the fact that people have things they care about outside of work. Now, that could be children. That was the genesis. Like that, absolutely, I'm living that. It was what my research was. That's the starting point. But everyone has things they care about outside of work. So that's the first thing, is value that. We value that people have things beyond work. The second principle of hashtag Work School Hours is to focus on outputs. We get so hung up on how many hours did a person do. Did they do their hours? Did they turn up at this time? What we really should be caring about is, did they deliver the outputs? Did they deliver what it was we actually employed them to do in the first place? So that's the second principle, is outputs. And then the third one, Brie, is around flexibility. So, excuse me, I've got
Oh, you're fine. Take it. Yes, please
my throat.
hydrate. Hydrate,
Um,
always important.
Thank you. And the third one is to give people flexibility. So
Mhm.
it's not for a second saying businesses give your people whatever they want and forget about profits. It's not saying that at all. It's saying, yeah, the outputs have to be done. That's the starting point. If you're going to be employed, you've got to add value to your business. So get your outputs done, but give people flexibility so they can get their outputs done and do the things that they care about outside of work. And that gives us the autonomy piece so that we can spend time with our kids when kids are, not in school, say afternoons, for example, or go and watch their sports day, and then also do work around that. You just kind of, the more flexibility people have, the better they can actually achieve the various things they've got on in their lives.
100%. They have to. Yeah. I mean, if there's like certain hours that everybody is like, okay, you're in the office, or but we've changed so much with remote learning and remote office. A lot of people, they get jobs. They're still just getting jobs that are remote only, or they have to be in the office one day a week. And the other times, they have to do their hours and get their projects done. And I know there are places doing it that way. Is that making it easier to do that? Do you think? Is that helping with this movement?
Yeah, so one of the silver linings of COVID, I mean, COVID was not a fun, I don't want to make light of that. But every crappy situation, there's lessons to be learned, there's silver linings. And one of those is that people before the pandemic in leadership positions many of them would be very reticent about allowing people flexibility of when they do their work or where they do their work, their remote piece. But the lockdowns actually just took that decision away from leaders. It was forced upon them. And what we realized, and I say we realized, I knew this already. I was already passionate about this beforehand. So I wasn't like, oh, wow, what a surprise. But what we all learned globally is that, hey, people can actually get their job done at different times, and we can be a bit more creative. And so the pandemic, from a timing point of view, has been, I think people are far more open to having this conversation than they were beforehand. But I mean, I'm an eternal optimist, Brie. I always think, yeah, crappy situations, we can do something about it. And this is exciting. Like, we now have an opportunity to really think, how do we want to structure work? How do we want to structure life? We don't have to just be like, cool, pandemic's over, everyone back to the office. Like, no, this is a cool chance to reimagine how we might do it in a way that's good for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. And I, take the good out of what we learned from a really crappy situation, which was COVID, and realize, yeah, we can work from home. We can do remote work. We can do a part-time shift. We can change, it doesn't have to be 100% of one or the other, but it's not one or the other anymore, right? We have this ability now that there is an alternate solution. It was kind of thrust on people, and maybe not to the, it supports what you are doing, is what I'm trying to say. And it shows people that you can, and people are a lot happier when they can do things. Some people, I've always been asked this. People ask this question. I don't know what groups do this or what it is about, but they're like, "Oh, so when are you most productive? What time of day are you most productive?" And some people will be like, "Early mornings, get me up, full of energy, ready to go. I can crank stuff out by noon and have all this stuff done." And there's other people that are like, "Oh, like I'm start at around 4:00. That's when I can really get going with my day. 4 in the afternoon, and then I'm rocking until midnight, and that's." But with this kinds of flexibilities, we can do that. We can work when we are at our best, which means we're doing our best work. Am I right on that?
Yes. Like, I actually, what's kind of funny is, so I'm actually a night owl, Brie. I've tried to fight it for ages, but I'm like, Helen, just go with it. Like, I do my best, I'm going to say thinking or strategic work. So if I'm, say, writing something, putting, writing or anything that requires like kind of some deep strategic thought, I do that best late at night. In fact, my PhD, I did most of that literally between 9 p.m. and 1-2 in the morning.
Yep.
I'm a night owl, and I've tried to change it, but it's when I do my best work. And now I've actually just leaned into that. And there was a period where I thought, well, I'm the work school hours girl. I can't send an email at 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, of course you can. That's the whole point. It's about working when it works for you. So it's not saying, again, only do work between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. during school hours. That's not what it's about. It's principles, working when it works for you. And Brie, it's so good because exactly what you said, I do my best work when it works for me. And then I'm with my kids. Like it's almost like we've got life and we have different things that are important to us in it. Family, jobs, friends, sheesh, hobbies maybe, Let's go crazy and actually have something we care about beyond just our work and our children.
Right.
But, yeah. And so it's just about doing each of them when it works.
100%. And like all those times, when my kids had football games, or a soccer game, or they had things going on and we want to be participants in their lives and show up. It's so important to them. These moments you can't replace. Mm-hmm. And so if that flexibility had been there, it would have made the world of difference. Uh-huh. It's those little things. It's valuing your employees. It's valuing your business, because if you care about your business, you have to care about your employees. Uh-huh. Otherwise, you don't really have much of a business. And I think that makes the difference. I see that in the way I'm working now in my business is I meet people at all different times of day and all different, we're a couple, 10,000 miles apart from each other right now, or I don't know how far New Zealand is from here, but it's pretty darn far. So the time change is there, but like we still can work when we can meet. I have a business partner that might be moving to Asia. That didn't even cross my mind of how are we going to work together. It was, sure, we might have to change our schedules a little bit, but awesome. Like that's exciting. You can do these things. And so having that flexibility really supports the person, the family in so many ways that it's just, it changes the business to the positive. When you care about it, you go that extra mile. When you care about, because you're respected and you're honored and you're supported, you will do the extra things. If you're just doing the job and nobody cares and you can be replaced, there isn't that want to do those things. So if you give me balance, I'm definitely going to give the balance back. I'm definitely going to give that back to the person that signs my check and I'm going to care about that business. And I'm also going to celebrate that business. Uh-huh. So what are we doing? How do we get these things to start happening more? How do we get this movement? How do we talk to the boss that we can't stand right now? Right, because we all have them. There's somebody out there that's watching this is like, no, my boss is just a POS. I don't want to I don't want to. How do I even talk? What do we do? How do we get this out there?
Okay, so can I go 2 threads? One is the how do you talk to the boss, and then the other is actually what the bosses can do. And so first of all, actually, I don't care. I'm going to do a plug. The Rattle to Wait book that we're part of, Brie, which I'm so excited. Lonnie Ray, and there's 10, 11-ish authors. We've all contributed a chapter, and it's on mental health. And so the bit that I'm focusing on is of health and mental health of parents and workers. And so I've got a chapter in there which gives a bit more information on work school hours. So Rattle to Wait, volume 11, it's freaking awesome. Brie's chapter is amazing. So I'm just going to plug that. And also, Brie, I'm excited. I've written my full book on work school hours, which it's on my website. That's where you can get it. And it's got like lots more information in it. So I just wanted to chuck that in there. But I think there's 2 bits in terms of if you are a worker and you're thinking, how do I approach my boss, even if I think they're a POS? It's not about going to your boss and asking for something. You're not actually asking for a handout. You're not asking to be given a favor. And you're not going to your boss with a laundry list of your problems and saying, oh, it's hard for me, I'm a parent. Let's just treat it as I am trying to make it really hard for my boss to say no. So what I almost like get people to role play this. So if I say, so let's just say you're my boss, Brie. So, hey, Brie, I understand that what you want of me is X, Y, and Z. These are the tasks that you want me to achieve, and you want me to do them by X date. Have I got that correct?
Sure do. Thanks, Dr. Ford.
Awesome. Thanks, Brie. So I would love to do that work for you. I'd love to do a great job of it. I'm passionate about it too. I'm going to deliver that for you. Can I please just trial, that de-risks it for the boss. Can I have a wee trial period of doing it a little bit differently? It would add immense value to my life if I could pick the kids up, say, 2 days a week, just as a bit of a trial. And then what I'll do is I'll get my work done around that. Can I give that a go? We can evaluate at the end of, say, a month to see how it went. I want to deliver these great outputs for you. I just want to do it slightly different. Can we give this a try?
I would consider that. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's do it. I made you talk me. You know, I want to do that. But yeah, I do like the trial approach. I think that does work. Like just like on this project, as we move forward for the next 2 weeks, month, let's just, see if this would work.
Yeah. And look, obviously I can't account for every single boss out there. Some of them will just say flat out no. And I don't know that I've got a perfect response to that. I don't. But what I would say, it's about going to your boss with a win-win. Mm-hmm. It's not saying, can I have this? Or can you give me these conditions? It's, I'm going to deliver this thing you want. I want to do it differently. And then in the trial, then it's on you, right? Make sure you do a damn good job doing that trial. So that it makes it really hard for the boss to say, no, we can't do that. And sometimes the responses might be, oh, well, if I give that to you, I've got to give it to everybody. And it's like, well, you're not actually giving me anything. You're getting me to do the work. And that doesn't preclude anyone else from doing their job or asking for different conditions. So I think that's kind of the one if you're the worker. If you are in a leadership position, how do you do this? What I get really excited about is that it's not, I say that a lot, don't I? I'm very excitable, Brie.
It's okay. I love it. That's what I am too. So perfect fit.
So it's kind of like, you don't need to solve the entire world overnight. So it's almost like if we're moving, let's just say we've got a spectrum, right? So at one end of the spectrum is the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, really fixed, no flexibility. And then at this end, almost like the panacea is the entire adult schedule is exactly the same as kids' schedule. We all have 13 weeks off for school holidays, etc. Now, I kind of know that that's not really realistic or ever going to happen. And that's actually okay. It's almost about how do we move along the spectrum towards people having more flexibility. And so I work with heaps of organizations now who have just done little things that's been really meaningful. So just some examples of how they just move along a little bit. Team meetings, only have them within school hours. So the amount of businesses that have a 4 p.m. team meeting, making it freaking difficult for the working parents in the team, just make that a 1 p.m. meeting instead. It's just a little shift. The other one is we have financial quarters. Now, sorry, to be fair, I don't know the school terms in the States. In New Zealand, we have 4 terms. So Australia is the same. And so it's not that hard to kind of align our financial quarters or our projects to the school terms. Whether the States has, I don't know how many terms, but there's a way that we can look at how do we align projects to school terms. So it's not saying no work gets done in the school holidays, but maybe the big stuff or the meaty stuff gets done during the school terms. And one of the best ways that leaders can actually implement this stuff is literally get the team together and say, right, team, we've got to deliver X, Y, and Z as a team. How might we do that? And when the team are literally genuinely given the opportunity, if we can do this differently, we can go home. People are freaking creative at coming up with ways.
Oh, yeah.
To make efficiencies, do things differently. Usually when people are asked to be more productive, they are fearful that they're going to be given more work or they're going to lose their job. That's kind of what usually comes around these productivity conversations. So if the conversation's actually more about, hey, we value you and you've got to make it safe. You can't trick your team and get some efficiency gains and then go and fire them. That would be the most horrific thing you could do for your business and morale and motivation, blah, blah, blah.
100%. We won't.
Just putting that out. But if the team leader the team leader doesn't have to solve it all. Literally just get the team together. And I've seen some amazing examples of shift workers. literally the shift workers come together and are like, oh, well, I really want to do this thing on the holiday with my kids, and this person wanted to do something with an elderly relative. And they just come up with it together. They allocate themselves to the shift. And the manager was like, oh, wow, I thought people would be kind of jack and, not look after their teammates. No, people who are in a team that actually value each other, they want to help each other. And that's the environment you actually want to create, because that's when people do better work.
Like 100%. I mean, you have to care about each other. You have to be supportive of each other. My husband's at work and all of a sudden a food truck shows up, and the boss has sent a food truck to their plant so that they can all get breakfast on him. It's little things that, that say, hey, I care about you, even though you had to work extra hours, kind of a thing. Some jobs you can't like change the hours because it is what it is and people need work. And you know what I mean? When you're on that kind of a position, but the fact that there are always things that bosses can do, that owners can do to show that they respect their employees. And when you give them the opportunity to figure things out, because what you're saying to them is, you don't need me to be the police or the principal, right? I believe in you. I trust in you. I respect you, that if this is the project that's assigned, you will make the right decisions to figure out how that happens. And sure, there's always going to be somebody once in a while that might not pull their load or do something. And then, well, that's the person that's going to, you really notice it in this situation, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be really obvious that they're not the team player that you wanted them to be, and maybe they're not the best fit. But the people that are there, that are a good fit, are going to do those things together. They are going to work those things together and make things happen. And it's going to be probably more efficient, better results, higher quality of work than they would have had they just done the normal of, here's the hours, here's what you're doing, this is what I expect.
Brie, it so is. I've got, I've been doing this a while now. Like, it's my research, and in my book, there's just so many examples of different businesses across a wide range of industries. So this is not, it's quite easy to think, oh, this will work for office workers. And I mean, really, that should be kind of the easy starting point. But actually, I've got lots of industries like construction, transport, farming, shift workers, medical, with examples of just how they've tweaked things a little bit. And it makes a massive difference to the genuinely what their teams produce. Like, it's so, as you said at the start, happy people are better workers and make their companies more money. That's not sort of a happy clappy idea anymore that people think's rubbish. No, there's hard evidence for that. Like, it's very well researched that when people come to work and feel valued and feel that they have belonging, autonomy, and purpose, they do better work.
Yeah, and they do more, and they start to love. Oh my gosh, they love their job. Right? Can we love our jobs again? Could we please do that, where we actually love going to work and we get excited for Monday morning when we can get up and we can do some things, but we also know that it's going to be a balanced day, and we're going to feel supported, and our kids, we're going to be there when our kids need us. All of these things. I love what you're doing. I feel your passion about this, and it's so tangible, right? It's something you're not changing the entire world. You're just saying, you're taking out the or and you're putting in the as well. Career as well as parenting, right? Both.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so let's do both, and let's make it a happier place. You did talk about this, and we'll talk about it again. Rattled Awake, Volume 11, the mental health issue. We talk about some really major topics in this. I talk about a little bit of what I have been through, what I have gone through, how podcasting saved my life. And you share this incredible journey that you've been on and the things that you've done. I don't know. It's this the group of people. If you didn't see the podcast before this, please go check it out. I'll link it in the description. I got to interview. We had the whole team, well, most of the team, on at one time in a big podcast episode. We got to hear a little bit from all of the authors. But it's been such a special book for me to be a part of. I feel so lucky. I talk all the time on podcasts. I'm always talking in meetings. I'm in meetings constantly all day long, going to networking meetings, meeting with new people, sharing about the book everywhere I go. I'm not as chatty when it comes to social media and LinkedIn. It's just not my favorite place to be, but I am in there. But the love and support that's been shared, especially in this chat today, from our other authors, Lonnie and Carolyn have been hopping in. Um, Ellen, if I could say one thing, it would be meeting you and meeting these other authors has truly made a huge difference in how I look at a lot of things. So I want to say that because it's not just I love you guys and I think you guys are all amazing and I have friends for life from this and I love that part of it. But what I'm saying is it changed my perspective on things and it helped me understand what everyone is going through more so that I can be a better human in how I talk to others when they need me. And I thank you all so much for that. So not only am I just so thrilled to be a part of this book, but really life changing and a way to understand with all of the vulnerable stories that people have shared, the parts of their heart, their soul that they've opened up to people. It's an incredible book. You should everyone should just go get it. It's $4.99 on Kindle. It's worth every penny, and please write us reviews. But what has been your experience doing this book?
Yeah, so actually it was funny. I shared this with Lonnie the other day, is that I was connected to, you know how the universe just brings people into your life sometimes and you can't quite explain how all this happened. So very briefly, I think this is kind of cool actually. There's an incredible woman in the States called Vanessa Ogle. Now, Vanessa ran a company called Enseo, which does, if you think about when you go to hotels and there's Netflix and stuff in there, she does far more than that. I'm not explaining it very well. But anyway, she ran Enseo. And I had published in a Canadian journal a couple of years ago about work school hours. Vanessa commented on my post and was like, oh, I used to run my company like that. So I said, oh, wonderful. Can I please interview you? So I interviewed her, Brie. I was so naive. She is a big deal. I did not realize that. She's been like Fortune 500. She's been magazine cover of Entrepreneur of the Year. Like, she is phenomenal. Anyway, I interviewed her. She ran her entire business, literally employing predominantly mums working school hours. And her business absolutely boomed because of the fact that she did this. So this is, she didn't do it because of me. Like, she'd been doing this for years. And so anyway, I'm quite a fangirl of Vanessa and she's in my book. Anyway, Vanessa interviewed me for something she was doing this year. And I then connected with all of the other people that she had interviewed, because I basically was like, hey, I saw you were also interviewed by Vanessa. So was I, would love to connect. And it was actually via that someone then connected me to Lonnie. So kind of a long story, but it's funny how these things, we all get connected, right? And so I had this conversation with Lonnie. She told me it was about a book and I didn't quite know what this was about. And we had this conversation and I was just like, in many ways, being part of this book right now is kind of the last thing I need to be doing. I've just launched my own book. I'm traveling. I'm solo mumming. I'm trying to, practice what I preach, and doing this is kind of strategically the last thing I need to do right now. But I just got this feeling with Lonnie. I was like, I just need to do this. I don't quite know all about it yet, but I need to. And holy dooly, sorry, long answer, Brie. But I'm so glad I did. I just listened to everybody's stories was so powerful, and they're all really different. So, the book, I just what you said, reading everyone else's chapter, every single person I learned something from, and just feel the sense of team. And even though we've never met in person, which I'm used to this, the Afghan rescue was done entirely remotely as well. It's just this amazing team of people who all want to do something good for the world. And I love that, right? Doing good for the world.
100%. There
Yeah.
it is. Work school hours. You got to go buy this one as well as Rattled Awake, which we are thrilled to be a part of. Unbelievable. Work school hours, a revolution for parents, workplaces, and the world. I love this. I am so excited. Yeah, it is. And you're kind of a big deal. You are. You're a big deal too. So I don't know why you're like, oh, she's a big deal, but you are too.
Oh,
You are.
I don't see it that way.
You are. Cape and all. We love it. I can't thank you for being here. I think we could talk forever, and you have to come back and hang out with me again because we just have fun. We talked for a long time before we even started, so we were like, "Oh, this is just going to be a great chat." And my dog stayed quiet, which surprisingly, almost the entire time they stayed quiet. So good on me for that, I guess. Thank you for being here and for sharing this and for all that you do for everyone in your world and for being such a great mom to those kiddos as well, because you're leading by example and showing them what great moms can do. So thank you.
Thank you, Brie. This has been really fun. Thanks. I'd love chatting with you. And sorry I went on a bit in the last answer. I was just so excited.
No, you're fine. It's good. I like, you talk all you want. I love it. No, we're all good. Thanks to the audience for hanging out with us. Please come back and see us again. All the links to everything will be in the description. Go buy the books. You need something to read, and you need to read more. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Hey, bye.